he'd understand if his dick was getting played with in an inappropriate manner. We're talking about Euron raping kids, okay?
Okay.
That's what is that not what you got from what Aaron's history with Euron was?
Well,
Spoiler alert,
I
that's
just
what Euron did.
okay.
Hey guys, you're in the Glass Candle podcast where we look at what happened, what's going to happen, and what could happen in A Song of Ice and Fire. That's a lot easier to say than
That's
the other
not.
thing, right?
But that's not. It
But it
doesn't
is.
sound.
That's what we do. What happened in the thing, and then what could have happened, and then what's gonna happen. Because like the last couple episodes, I kept getting tripped up on it, right?
Yeah, but it
Where we look
sounds
at
so
what
much
is,
better.
what could be,
And what will
and
come?
what will come. There's a lot of coming.
That's one come.
Where we look at what came, what could come, and what will come.
Oh, the poor people listening to us. Okay, did you say your
Fuck
name
that.
yet?
I'm gonna use come every single time. My name's Eric, and I did not come yet.
Oh, fucking shit. I can't.
But you came here.
What the hell is wrong with us today? Alright, I'm
Who are you?
Lillian. I am Lillian, and we admin over at, I'm gonna give you the big words and then the little words. We admin at the A Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones Discussions and Theories Facebook group. But to find us, you'll have to search ASOIAF / GOT Discussions and Theories. So come find us.
We are admins.
We are so serious.
Our group is a serious group too.
We do have serious discussion, but we also, Eric and I troll our own group sometimes. We're just assholes.
I don't troll the group.
We troll people.
This podcast is a troll.
I like our podcast.
Yeah, but it's funny. We're real people just talking about a book and making jokes about it. Today, Theon I, Clash of Kings. Cat storyline. So we're gonna wedge it in here. This happens at the end of Cat's last chapter. We hear about Robb wanting to send Theon off to the Iron Islands to make an alliance with them, and this is like the immediate follow-up to that. All of the rest of Theon's chapters will plug into Bran's storyline and arc because, spoiler alert, Theon goes and fucks with Bran. And this is kind of like his last bit where he's semi-involved with Robb's campaign in the south. So, Clash of Kings Theon 1. As always, the episode format's going to be a chapter summary. I'm going to give it to you this time. I'm going to give it to you.
Okay, we are 2 minutes in, and the sexual innuendos are ridiculous.
It's only going to get worse.
God.
Theon gets a blowjob.
So what's coming next, Eric?
So we do the summary, we discuss the main character, we discuss who had the biggest influence over the POV character and why. We try to find any alternative actions the character could have done to change how the story actually plays out. We figure out how this affects the other plots moving forward. We'll discuss an alternative POV to witness the events of the chapter from, and then we close with quotes, standout appearances, and theories. You have anything to add before I start?
Can we chill out on everything?
We'll see. I'm the fun admin. The fun host of this podcast.
Fuck you too.
So the chapter opens with Theon aboard a ship en route to Lordsport and then to Pike. Theon is reminiscing about the last time he saw Pike about 10 years ago. We spent a few pages in his head being exposited the primary details of Ironborn culture and history, like the Pike Castle complex, how awesome the Ironmen are at sailing, and how much of a pussy everybody else is. The old way, quote-unquote, of Ironborn culture, salt wives versus rock wives. Yeah, that's pretty much all in the first opening pages there. So we get these thoughts as Theon gets his dick sucked by the captain's daughter, and he nuts when he thinks he's going to bring back the old way.
And it's salty, like the sea.
Like the sea. They roll into Lordsport, and Theon doesn't get the reception he thinks he's due. Aaron Greyjoy, one of his uncles and Balon's brothers, Aaron alone is there to bring him to Pike. He gets Theon, before they set off, he gets Theon to renounce the old gods of the Starks and baptizes him for the drowned god. Theon is not religious, so no big deal to him. However, this won't be the last time he's accused of being a Stark Greenlander bitch. Aaron's new priesty ways come as a shock to Theon, because when Theon left, he remembered Aaron as like this party animal frat boy kind of guy. And then Aaron tells him like the story about he drowned and crabs ate the scales from his eyes and all this weird shit, and Theon's just like, fucking weird, okay, sure.
Yeah, that was strange.
So yeah, they don't really get along as they start riding off. Theon gets bratty, and he channels his inner Stannis, claiming that he won't be refused his rights as Balon's heir. Aaron tells him that's kind of Ash's thing now, and he needs to shut the fuck up. Theon does go quiet for a while, but then he needs to talk again, so he starts explaining the War of the Five Kings to Aaron, but it's old news to them. They also taught comet symbolism, but obviously
Four
Theon
kings
is wrong.
at that point.
Sure, but the events were the Five Kings. Calm down. The whole Westeros War. How is it? They taught comet symbolism, but obviously Theon is wrong, and the comet is a sign from the drowned god. Obviously. They get to Pike, and Aaron dumps him off and goes back to doing priesty things somewhere. Theon enters the gate and doesn't get the reception he thinks he's due. Some old broad takes him to a shitty room in a shitty part of the place where Theon channels his inner Cersei and barks orders to clean it up. He goes to the sea tower to meet his father Balon. Theon doesn't get the reception he thinks he's due yet again. Balon calls him a soft pussy Stark Greenlander cuck whore, pretty much, and backhands the shit out of him. Rob via Theon, or Rob's possession.
Theon via Rob, or wait, shit,
Rob
yeah,
via
whatever.
Theon
via Rob via Theon.
The two of the children, the 16-year-olds. A great proposal was for the Ironborn to evade and take Lannisport and Casterly Rock, after which Rob would give Balon a crown. Balon ain't no bitch, and reveals his own plan to strike another undefended castle. Winterfell. He means Winterfell. Did I miss anything?
We're terrible people. I'm just saying that. Okay.
It was an accurate recap.
I really hated
recap.
I really hated Theon reading this chapter. Such a dick.
He's arrogant.
That's putting it lightly.
Yeah, he's an asshole. He's like that frat boy that, like, we call Tyrion a frat boy that relies on daddy's money. And Theon is kind of like that too, except his dad hates him. So he like uses his spotlight. Oh, I'm the Kraken's heir.
Yeah.
I'm this, and then he goes home, and dad's like, "Fuck off, dude." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Daddy." So, who's your main character?
I had it as Theon.
Yep, same.
Okay.
It is his first ever POV chapter, so obviously it's going to be about Theon.
And he's so arrogant, it has to be about Theon.
Yeah, so
Even if it was about someone else, I think you would still say Theon.
quite the shift from his
Yes.
more recent like POV chapters. So yeah, I had Theon and how un-Ironborn he actually is. So we see this all the way through the chapter. It starts with the Mirham's captain and his daughter, who don't get names. They're just called the captain's daughter and the captain. How Theon steps aboard the ship and he's like given the captain's chambers, and he doesn't take anything. Like, he kind of takes it, but it's really not. He doesn't take it like the Ironborn way. He just starts fucking the girl, and she's just like, okay, cool, we'll do this. And he thinks it's hilarious to make the captain like watch him do it.
Such an asshole.
He orders people around with like a a bratty, like a Joffrey kind of. His clothes are not Ironborn at all. There's a couple of times where it's mentioned about his fur-lined stuff and his velvet clothes and silver clasp and all that stuff, which becomes like an actual focal point for Balon. His
Just like a
religion,
whore.
his religion isn't Ironborn. His weapon isn't Ironborn. Ironborn don't really use the bow and arrow, and that's what Theon's really good at. His Stark loyalty, obviously, is a big spot for Balon, and I got that down later, so we'll go into more detail on that. But his ambition is very Ironbornish, though, because this whole time he's thinking he's going to be the one to bring back the old way, which contrasts to everything else that he's about.
Yeah.
The old way of taking women and just
Raving and reaving and raping.
grieving, raping, pillaging. He's all like, these sound like great ideas.
Yeah.
So that part is Ironborn. But I think that's more of just like, I want to do this so I can be famous, not this is my culture and this is what I know.
He just wants the power. Yeah.
Asha is Ironborn. Theon is not.
Agree.
Do you have anything else to say about Theon?
For the main character aspect, no, I do not.
All right, take us into the next one.
All right, so biggest influences over Theon. I said it was Balon, and you kind of already covered it when we were talking about the frat boy thing. His need for daddy's approval, really drives him throughout the chapter. And as much as he's an asshole throughout the chapter, I feel bad for him when it comes to his father.
I don't. I think Balon is more level-headed than Theon. Balon makes a bad decision at the end. His plan is fucking horrible, but we'll talk about that later. But no, like Balon's reaction is what I would expect. My influence, I couldn't name a particular character that had an influence over him because Theon's by himself for the majority of this, or he's the one in charge of the situation.
Yeah.
But his biggest motivation was to become the beloved heir, or was to become the beloved heir returned. So the entire time he's like, people will recognize me, and nobody fucking recognizes him. And then he meets Aaron, he's like, Uncle Aaron! And he's like, yeah, come on, let's go. And he's like, what, that's it?
Yeah. Well, at the same time, he was a 10-year-old boy when he left, so it's not like he looks the same.
Right. Which is like everywhere he goes, like he thinks that he's built up this reputation, and no one gives a fuck. And Theon has to come to terms with, he doesn't even come to terms with it, but it's just like slapping him in the face. Like every stage of his journey into Pike is just this over and over again where no one cares. Like I said in the recap, Theon doesn't get the reception he thinks he's due, and that happens over and over again, 3 times specifically. He lands in Lordsport, he meets Aaron, he gets into Pike, he gets to his father, and everything is very melodramatic for him. Not what he expects.
Did he expect his dad to welcome him with open arms and want a hug and all that?
Which is fine, but it's just not how it was. So, what could Theon have done differently, knowing how the future plays out? So first, he could have been more aware of the culture he was walking into. I think he thinks he'll be accepted no matter what. Obviously, that wasn't the case. He could have dressed differently. He even realizes that as soon as he walks in and Balon calls him, says that he's dressed like a whore, and he's like, "Ah, oh, fuck, yeah,
he
forgot
realizes,
about that part.
Yeah.
Shit. But yeah, aside from changing his entire thought process, there wasn't a whole lot Theon could have done because this is all just as big a culture shock to us as the readers as it is to Theon himself.
I was thinking that it wouldn't have worked, obviously, because he got bitch slapped, but putting his foot down and insisting Balon take the offer, but once he realized that there was no way that was going to fucking happen, he should have notified Robb.
Yeah, well, there is no one in the castle, so he could have just ran.
Run away.
I'm gonna go tell on you, and then just take off. Who was gonna stop him? The old lady? The The servants changing the carpets.
Maybe she's glamored. Maybe she's
Oh,
Dagmar.
shut up. She's not Euron.
You don't know that.
Yeah, dude.
Alright, so how do the events of this chapter affect the other plots? So I said it sets up the sacking of Winterfell, it severs ties with Robb, and it creates the fifth king in the War of the Five Kings. And it basically preoccupies Robb from moving south. That's way further down the road. But it's gonna really fuck some things up.
Yeah, I made a post about this in the group, and obviously we'll find this out as we read through the next couple cat chapters. But I was wondering when Robb expected the Ironborn to come down. When did he get suspicious that Theon failed? And like how the Greyjoy attack on the Westerlands like would have factored into his plan. Because I can't recall off the top of my head, and I haven't read Clash in like a year, so that's something I'm going to be looking out for to see like how Theon's failed mission affected his plan.
Yeah.
We'll go back to that post I made a little bit after I get done with these, but yeah, I had the same thing. It lets us know that Bran is fucked. It lets us know that Kat was right to not trust Theon with this mission.
Yes.
She didn't trust Theon as a person, not so much that Theon would convince him, because Theon came in there with the right intentions to support Robb, but as we find, like how Balon says he's not Craven, but Theon is.
It's not that she didn't trust Theon. She didn't trust Balon.
Well, she didn't trust Theon to convince Balon. That's why she was like, send literally anybody else.
Okay.
And Robb was like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, this guy's
He's
the
like a brother.
the 19-year-old kid. Why wouldn't he be able to get it done?
Yeah.
And Catelyn's like, maybe send an adult. And Robb's like, I'm not an adult. And I rolled 2 kingdoms. And she's like, God, you fucking idiot. So yeah, Robb is dumb. That was also in my thing. So this chapter saves Tywin. Because he would have been royally fucked.
Oh.
The Ironborn
Yeah.
crashed down on Lannisport and Casterly Rock. And my question, let me pull this up in the post that I made. So the post, without reading the whole thing because I wrote a lot, was, or how would Tywin respond to the Greyjoy sacking Lannisport and Casterly Rock? So Balon should have agreed to this. It's a bigger prize to take the Westerlands because they're richer, they're a lot closer. Yeah, it's a more manageable invasion from a logistics and movement control perspective, and there really is like there's no appeal to take Winterfell. It's only Balon's personal revenge. That
Pretty
feels
much. Yeah.
which is just horrible, and I wonder why no one else was just like Balon. Actually, like that's kind of dumb. Like nobody spoke up against Balon. Victarion wasn't just like, yeah, but like Lannisport's right there.
Full of gold.
Winterfell has pine cones. And it's like so fucking far away, and you have to get rid of your ships, and it just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, really, when you think about it, like, I get it, it's supposed to betray Robb, and oh my god, like this is a huge plot shift, but really, like this is a dumb thing to do. Like it's so dumb.
The fact that he's so set on revenge and it being the iron price and not the gold price and not being given a crown, whatever else, like, dude, like, long-term planning here. Figure it out.
I almost want to blame George R. R. Martin for this because it makes no sense for them to do it, you know?
Well, George wrote it, so how could you not blame him?
Yeah, no, like that's what I'm saying. Like the character motivations, like I get it. He's really mad at Ned, who's dead, and Robert, who's dead. I got that quote on later. I don't know. It just seems like anyone else would have been like, "This is a decent plan, though. Like we're gonna go way up there to fucking Winterfell. How are we gonna hold it?" And no one brought any of these concerns. And George R. R. Martin was like, "This is a good idea." Plot twist, though. So, I don't know. But yeah, we got a couple of comments. Brett had one, Tywin have to take the Westerlands back. since the Ironborn could never take Casterly Rock. But I don't know if he would leave Cersei and the others in King's Landing. They're easy picking for Baratheons. He might be forced to take them with him and give King's Landing to Stannis or Renly, like abandon it for them to take. He might get desperate and try to pull some treachery on Robb, Stannis, or Renly to try to neutralize them. If he timed it right, he might be able to get the Tyrells on his side after Renly is killed and get them to fight Stannis. I'm not sure what would happen if the Reach fought Stannis with most of the Stormlands and King's Landing. So what do you think about that? Tywin abandoning King's Landing and taking the small force he had that just got beat back by Edmure to run headlong into the... How would he do that?
I don't think it would go very well. I think that would basically...
Yeah,
It would crush House Lannister overall.
Yeah, I don't think he can pull that off. Because Stafford just got beat so that the reinforcements army's dead. He's going to have to go fight Edmure again, who he just lost to. And then if he gets past Edmure, he has Robb's army to get into. And it's like a shit ton of mountains that he's got to climb to get back over there.
And we're not
it almost
even
makes
bringing
more sense
Renly and Stannis into play.
Right, and like at this point, like if the Greyjoys with Robb in the Riverlands, it's three kingdoms, quote unquote. If three kingdoms have taken out the base of Tywin, I can't see the Tyrells being like, sure, Tywin, we'll support you. It would have to be, Tywin, you're going to support us. if there was ever going to be some kind of alliance there. But even then, like that's not a very appealing alliance to make at that point.
Yeah.
It's like no one likes Tywin, and now Tywin's been completely cucked. So why are we going to try to side with him? Unless you're going to bring him in to be like one of your like advisors. The treachery part makes sense. Like Tywin would have to do something like that, but I don't know where to go with predicting that. Because who predicted Red Wedding?
Some people will tell you that they did.
Some people are liars.
Yeah.
So yeah, this leaves Tywin in a bad spot. Scott pointed out that the Lannisters do hold the Redwyne twins as hostages.
Mm-hmm.
But then you gotta be like, would Renly not attack Tywin because they hold two people from a family 3 sets removed from being important to him?
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then if you're like, okay, well, Renly's dead now. So now it's Mace Tyrell and his mom's grandsons or grandnephews or whoever
they are to her. Yeah.
Related to her, the Redwynes. So then, well, does Mace like give in to his mom's grandnephews? So, and then if they side with Robb, then they have all the Lannister captives on their side too. Jaime Lannister especially. So I don't know if the Redwyne twins being hostages is enough to force the Tyrells to side with Tywin.
I don't think so.
And then the last one, it puts Tywin in a tough spot. He's stuck defending the capital or defending his home, much like Robb having to pick between the war going back to defend Winterfell. He could divide his forces and rely on the Tyrells saving King's Landing, but then they could steal the throne in his absence. He could abandon the West, but he'd lose everything but the crown. The Westlands would be completely captured or destroyed. So yeah, it's a tough spot.
Basically, Tywin would be fucked if Balon would have done the right thing.
Right. Completely. And then Tywin wouldn't be able to rely on Walder Frey either. Because this overwhelmingly puts the odds in Robb's favor, so Frey's not going to be like, I'm going to pick a losing side now. He's like, oh, see, I've been on your side the whole time.
Go fuck whoever you want. Forget my daughter.
And then you gotta wonder, like, this probably prevents Roose from betraying them as well.
Yeah.
Because Roose only betrays him because he's promised by Tywin the North. And Tywin can't promise Dick right now, so... someone said Tywin goes into the Golden Company, but I can't imagine. William Sylvain.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, Balon is dumb, but he has a pretty grudge against the Starks for his pride and stupidity getting in the way. I see all supporters abandoning Tywin, similar to when Robb lost the North. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The difference being the ruling style. Most loved the Starks and would stick by them until it was over. Tywin ruled through fear and the loss of his home and getting whooped all over Westeros, there wasn't much left to fear. It's a great point.
Yes, good point.
Supporters would be like rats on a sinking ship. Mace/Olenna would have to shut Loras the fuck down if he tried to side with a losing cause. And then he says Tywin joined the Golden Company in exile seems kind of fitting. That part, I disagree. I can't see Tywin going on a self-imposed exile. I can't really get behind that one, but
the rest of it's really good.
But yeah, the first part is really good. So basically, like this, if Balon would have gone through with this, Tywin's fucked, and either retreats to King's Landing to hole up in the Red Keep, which I think is what he'd have to do. He'd have to bring what's left of his army to hold the siege, and you could argue that then it just becomes a war of two sides, because Renly still dies, Tyrells come and save Tywin from Stannis, because Stannis isn't going to side with Robb at all, and he's not going to. The Tyrells aren't going to side with Stannis. So then either the Tyrells just fuck off and go back home, or they still do what they do and save the kingdom, or it saves Tywin from Stannis. In which case you have the Reach, the Stormlands, King's Landing against the Riverlands, the North, whatever's left of the West, and the Iron Islands.
Yeah. So
it could just divide the realm in half right there. But the numbers would... What's the Reach army? I don't know. But then after that, Balon would probably betray Robb anyway.
Yeah.
That's all I got for that one. You got anything else, or are you ready to move on?
We can move on.
Alternative POV. So I picked Balon. Balon Greyjoy. So we'll see how much or less does he care that Theon is back. How does this change his plan? So yeah, so Balon already had the plan to invade Winterfell, so we'll see what he actually thought internally of Robb's thing. I mean, I don't think it's going to be much different than what he actually voiced.
Yeah.
But we'll see if this changes anything about it. How his plan actually makes sense to him. Because we already talked about it. It's a stupid fucking plan.
Yeah.
Where's Vic? How come he's not there?
He's off recruiting.
Recruiting who?
He's off at one of the islands.
Oh, right. How useful is Aaron to Balon? Like, what's his opinion on his brother? But mostly, it's just when Theon says his plan, like, what's his internal comparison between Balon's shitty plan and Theon's much plan, and how he rationalizes, no, we're going to go with my shitty plan because I thought of it and it's my plan.
Yeah. I had those same thoughts when I was trying to think of somebody, and I ended up just settling on no one because I think Theon was the best way to get all of this information. If I was forced to choose somebody, I would have chose Balon for the same reasons.
Right, yeah. There's nothing, or no one else in this chapter that can really give us what Theon gave us. So, with that being Theon's first, it's pretty more character-driven than it is plot-driven.
Yeah. All right, so quotes. Well, okay, so there's a couple times where Theon is talking about the Starks, and the wording of it is kind of disturbing because from what we know of him through A Game of Thrones, like, he's kind of a dick, whatever, but ultimately he's good friends with Robb. We never get the sense, well, this is also the first time we're in his head, we never get the sense that he's not happy there. And so the first time that it comes up is on 165, and he's just arrived and he's looking at the sea tower, and he says, "The banner streamed from an iron mast, shivering and twisting as the wind gusted like a bird struggling to take flight. And here at least the direwolf of Stark did not fly above, casting its shadow down upon the Greyjoy Kraken." And that stood out to me because I thought he was perfectly fine in his situation. I thought he was happy. And that's like the first time we kind of get that animosity that he carries towards them.
I don't know if I'd call it animosity.
Well, it's like he resents the Starks.
Yes, resentment. I like to with that word. I think it kind of has to do with more of a personal pride than it does like hatred or animosity or resentment. That his family doesn't have the Starks ruling over them, even though they Starks ruled over him.
I guess.
Because Theon's always been about like, no, I'm Greyjoy and I'm just a ward, and like he knows that he was a hostage, but he
Yeah.
doesn't like. That's not what he tells people. He's not like, hi, I'm Theon Greyjoy. I was a hostage from the Starks. He's like, no, I was a ward.
Yeah.
That's all. I'm just a ward. He's just raising me. It's cool. So I think it's pride that the Greyjoys haven't submitted to the Starks yet. I had a quote on 184. So Theon is talking to Balon, and Balon says, "The Wolf King heeds your counsel, does he?" Theon heeds me. Yes, I've hunted with him. I've trained with him. I've shared his meat and mead with him. I've warred at his side. I have earned his trust. He looks on me as an older brother. And Balon snaps. He says, "No." His father jabbed a finger in his face. "Not here. Not in Pike. Not in my hearing. You will not name him brother. This son of the man who put your true brothers to the sword. Or have you forgotten Roderick and Meryn, who were your own blood?" So that was not the best thing for Theon to say right there. Calling a guy brother who was also part of the family that killed his real brothers. Theon might not have known Roderick and Merrick and all them, but it's understandably so a soft spot for Balon, who, you know, saw his kids, or well, maybe not like firsthand saw, but had his kids die at the hands of Starks, indirectly, sort of.
One was killed by Jason Mallister, the other one was killed in a building collapse. And
Right.
Theon did know them. They picked on Theon.
Yeah, a little bit.
Read the
Theon
fucking
didn't
book.
know them. Theon didn't know them.
Theon was 10 years old. You wouldn't remember your brother at 10?
I didn't know my brother. Like I knew he was my brother, but like I didn't know him as a person. Like Balon had a much better and more in-depth relationship with
Well, yeah, that's his
Roderick and
son.
Meryn. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's
Okay,
a lot
okay.
more of a soft spot for Balon
Well, when
than
you
it
say
is
he
for
didn't know
Theon.
them, like it made you seem like he didn't fucking know them at all. Not that he.
No, not that like he
All
knows like
right.
this is Roderick, this is my brother. Balon knows who Roderick is as a person.
Okay.
He had an actual relationship with him.
Okay.
And Theon is calling Rob his brother, and he's like, no, what the fuck, he's not. So that one part, is where I sympathize with Balon. I was like, solid point.
It is fucked up.
It still hurts Balon.
Aw,
So
Balon has emotions.
yeah, he's very angry all the time.
All right, so I've got another one on page 169 when
Nice.
dude, we got away from it for so long. We were doing so well. And I thought about that as soon as I saw the page number, like maybe I shouldn't say it.
On the page before 170.
So actually now that Theon is thinking this stuff around the time that he's getting a blowjob anyways, so why not? And he's thinking about
Pervert.
the Ironboard and where they came from, the old way, and he says, in those days the Ironborn did not work mines. That was labor for the captives brought back from the hostings, and so too the sorry business of farming and tending goats and sheep. War was an Iron Man's proper trade. The drowned god had made them to reave and rape, to carve out kingdoms and write their names in fire and blood and song. I just found it really interesting since he's not religious, either way. Is Balon religious?
Yeah.
To the point where he like really believes the drowned men or the drowned god created them?
I don't know.
I don't know.
He's not Aaron level.
Well, yeah, I don't think anybody's
He,
Aeron level.
he's like Victorian level. Pre Fire Hand.
pre-R'hllor brainwashing.
Right.
Now, I just thought it was interesting because, we get the whole, not necessarily the backstory of the Ironborn, but how they, basically how they lived their lives, for the longest time until they were put down by Aegon. And the wording of that the drowned god created them to reave and rape, just really stood out to me.
Yeah, I think Balon is just an average follower, normal
A casual.
devotee. Maybe not a casual.
Goes to church on Easter Sunday, that's about it.
I think he goes to church every Sunday. It's one of those relaxed churches where he can wear jeans.
Yeah.
Or his sealskin robes.
Whatever the fuck they were.
They were sealskin. So my next one is on 172. So this is our first shout out to Euron, I think, right? So he pulls up on to Lordsport, and he's noticing the different sigils. He says Theon Theon searched for his Uncle Euron's silence. Theon searched for his Uncle Euron's silence.
Okay, Vargo Hope.
As that lean and terrible red sip, he saw no sign.
Stop it.
But his father's great kraken was there. Her bout ornamented with a gray iron ring in the shape of his namesake. So mostly it's to point out that as soon as he gets there, he's looking out for Euron. But it's not like he's looking out for him in this dread sense. Like he doesn't know what Euron is or like the reputation behind Euron. He's just like, oh, where's Uncle E's ship?
Yeah.
Yeah, Uncle E's ship. Where's it at? I heard a lot about it. And then, but the also thing, like whenever I was writing that, I was like, oh yeah, the Great Kraken has a giant iron battering ram on its prow that's in the shape of a kraken. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I didn't remember that.
And I think later on too, yeah, this is on the same page, the second quote. But it says his father was old now, and so too his Uncle Victarion. So shout out to Vic. They're old men.
I don't think it's Victarion of old, like when I picture him.
Yeah, no, I don't. He's 40s. Mid-30s.
Theon's 20, so everything's old to 20.
His Uncle Euron, which was a different song, to be sure, but the silence did not seem to be important. It's all for the good. This way I shall be able to strike all the more quickly. So again, he name drops Euron without any kind of awareness of who the fuck Euron actually is. He's like, oh, cool, they're not here, so now I can just, like, take over.
Good luck with that.
It's more just like, he's not here, so I can do this easily. Not, oh, thank God Euron's not here, because fuck that dude.
Well, he's been gone for 10 years. Does he really know who Euron has become?
No, that's what I'm saying. He has no idea.
Well, then there's the theory that, so we know Euron, molested Aeron. I think Preston mentions it when he's going through the Winds of Winter series in Theon's sample chapter, how when Theon meets Moore's Umber, is it Moore's? I think it's Crowfoot. Yeah, it's Crowfoot. When he meets Crowfoot, how because he only has one eye, and Theon's talking about he wanted to rip off the eye patch to make sure there wasn't a black eye shining with malice, and so from there, Preston theorizes that Euron possibly molested Theon or abused Theon in some way. So for him to think of him the way you're saying, oh, Uncle Euron, I don't know.
I think Preston's wrong.
I have no feeling either way towards it. But
because like if he did, Theon would remember it here.
Well, I feel like the fact that he's calling out that Euron and Vic aren't there and that it'll be easier for him to strike means that he knows that Victarion and Euron are going to put up a fight for Theon to take over after Balon.
I think it's him seeing, I only have to convince Balon. I don't have to convince Balon and Euron and Victarion. It'll be easier for me to convince one person.
Okay. That makes more sense than my version.
Because he's not like, oh, I'm looking for Uncle Euron ship, the guy who raped me when I was 10. Or, I'm sorry, Uncle E who played with me. We wrestled. But somehow young Aaron recalls the screeching door or whatever it was and knows what it was. So
It's like every other line, yes.
yeah, so if child Aaron knew what was going on, or like as a child understood what was happening, then Theon
That's a
would
good point.
understand. Because Theon's delusional, but he's not stupid. So he'd understand if his dick was getting played with in an inappropriate manner. We're talking about Euron raping kids, okay?
Okay.
That's what is that not what you got from what Aaron's history with Euron was?
Well,
Spoiler alert,
I
that's what
just-
Euron did.
okay.
I'm confused. You know that's what it was, right?
Well, I didn't think that happened, but okay.
Oh, they did it to Euron?
I thought Euron just poked him in the butt. Not that Euron touched him.
Well, I mean, like, think of the worst thing that could happen.
Okay, can we not get into the specifics
I'm
of
just saying,
pedophiles?
I don't think Euron used them to penetrate him.
Well, no, I don't think so either. I don't... Jesus Christ, we're going to hell.
Oh, Euron is.
Okay.
I have one more. An 83. So here we get a pointless cycle of revenge quote. 10 years, you say. Stark had you as long as I, and now you come as his envoy. Not his, Theon said. Lord Eddard is dead, beheaded by the Lannister Queen. They are both dead, Stark and that Robert who broke my walls with his stones. To see them both in their graves, and I have. He grimaced. Yet the cold and the damp still make my joints ache, as when they were alive. So what does it serve? Endless cycle of revenge. Balon's just like, I'm gonna see them both fucking die. And they died, and he's like, nothing's changed. This is still stupid.
And he
So-
continues it after he realizes that. He says that, and he has like a self-awareness moment that then I'm still gonna fucking take Winterfell. Because I
Yep,
can.
I'm still gonna get my revenge because they're not here to suck it. So I
Yeah.
guess his kid will suck it because your dad was a dick to me.
Ugh.
Yeah, so pointless cycle of revenge. Vengeance begets vengeance. When does it end?
Never.
It's
Well,
just that Ilaria had the right sense to see that,
Yes.
and Balon was just like, this is stupid. Like, I've had revenge. It's not working.
let's
I
keep
guess I'll keep
trying.
going. Yeah.
One of
Maybe
these
after I
times
burn
it's
his
gotta
house
work.
down, it'll be okay. And Ilaria's just like, no, that's fucking stupid. Stand-up appearances.
I've got
Uh,
Balon and Aeron.
Aaron didn't stand out to me. I thought he was pretty boring.
Aw. Well, we get
That's-
introduced to him, and I like him later on, so maybe that's why he stood out to me.
I don't like Aaron at all.
You don't like damp hair?
No. He's a religious
don't like the
nut.
Forsaken?
An idiot. No, it's a great chapter. I don't like Aaron.
Okay, I like his chapters. He's crazy. Yeah, he's insane.
He's the vessel to watch Euron do his crazy
Which is
shit.
the interesting one.
So
yes.
I like. Yeah, I like
Right.
Aaron for the other people in his chapters.
Okay. You got a point.
Euron's a prick. Well, Euron's a prick, but Aaron is also a prick.
He's insane. They're both
If only
insane.
Asha had a dick, she'd have been great, but she doesn't have a dick, so fuck. What am I gonna do?
Well, yeah.
It's like, is it really that important? I had Balon, though. He has a commanding presence.
Yes.
As soon as he walks in, Theon's just like, Father! And he's just like, shut up. And he's like, oh, okay.
You're dressed like a whore.
Right.
I think that's
Slaps
just my
him.
favorite part.
Yeah, what's that full quote? We're on quotes. Do you have it?
We're past quotes. We're on standout, but it's when he's talking about Asha took an axe to wife, to husband, whatever, and you're dressed like some common whore. My daughter has taken an axe for a lover. I will not have my son bedeck himself like a whore.
Deck himself. I like that he used that one. It's funny. And then at the end there he says, mind your tongue, you are not in Winterfell now, and I have not robbed the boy. The boy in capital.
Is it?
That's just funny. Yeah, at the end in the last page on 186. I am not robbed the boy. That you should speak to me so. And then he said, I am the Greyjoy. I like that. I am the Greyjoy, Lord Reaper of Pike, King of Salt and Rock, Son of the Sea Wind, and no man gives me a crown. I pay the iron price. I will take my crown, as Euron Redhand did 5,000 years ago. Which, if we're done with standout appearances and go into theories, Euron Redhand.
Go for it.
So I was just like, oh, cool, Euron Redhand. That's a world book thing. So I was going to try to see if there was any comparison or parallels to what Euron Redhand did that Balon did. So the short version is, for a while, the Ironborn still used democratic elections. They got all their kings moved together, all the captains. Yep, captains and kings of the islands would get together and they would vote. Except Euron Redhand's dad was like, he was voted, I think. And then when he was about to die, he was like, Euron is going to be the new king, primogeniture. And everybody was just like,
that's
bullshit.
Not how this works. Yeah.
We vote in America and on the Iron Islands.
In America.
Yeah. So the King's Moot was called to vote a new king. But Euron said, fuck that, and slaughtered everyone at the King's Moot. And it was just like, I am the king now. And nobody said shit, and he ruled for like 22 years.
Yeah.
So that's what Balon meant when he's like, I will take my crown like Euron Redhand did. They were going to vote for somebody else, and Redhand was just like, you're all going to die. And they all died. So it's a pretty lofty shoes to fill for Balon. And he was like, I will do the same by taking Winterfell. And then you can see the comparison, how it's the exact same thing. It's fucking not. That's a bad metaphor. And I wonder if Balon actually knew what Redhand did.
He just wants to seem important.
I thought you said he just wants to seem important. I was like,
what?
You said seem important, and I was like, seem important?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I was like, oh, I get it. Seem important.
It
Seem
makes him feel better about his dick. There.
We have a theme in this episode.
It's terrible.
So going back to semen and dicks, the captain's daughter, is she pregnant with Theon's kids? Is there anything that pops up later in the story about this? I don't think so.
We see the captain again because he comes and tells Robb that Balon's dead. But I don't remember hearing anything about his daughter.
It's interesting too how Theon thinks he even says, he's like, not everyone has the honor of raising a king's bastard. Mm-hmm. It's like, Theon, you're calling yourself a king?
Already?
Yeah.
Was he planning on killing Balon after all this was said and done?
I don't think so. He just meant to inherit and rule from Casterly Rock. That's something that Balon points out too. Like, there's a lot of quotes in here. But Theon's like, we'll do this, we'll invade Lannisport, and I don't think this was a part of the plan. He's like, and then we can also take Casterly Rock, and, that could be given to me, and I can rule from there. And Balon looked at it, and he's just like, it doesn't say shit on here about, one, Casterly Rock, or two, reporting it to you, so...
Yeah.
I don't think that's part of the deal. And he's like, we could just, it's right there. And, because I'm going to lead it, so, I thought maybe you could give it to me.
Please?
Yeah. So I thought that was funny. We already talked about the what if with Tywin and all of them. Mm-hmm. Any other theories?
I don't have anything.
Anything else just about the chapter in general?
I am not looking forward to what's going to happen next. It makes me sad. No, when we get to Theon and Bran's arc.
Yeah. I think the show added a scene where Theon monologued about what it's like being a hostage and being told how lucky you are to be a hostage or a slave or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think I haven't read Clash of Kings, like I said, in a year.
He has that conversation with Lewin. Because
Yeah,
Lewin
I
tells him
was
how lucky he
told
was. They treated him so well and all that.
how lucky or how you should owe them. Yeah, so we'll get into that in a month or so. 2 months, 3 months, I don't know. Eventually,
It's
sometime later
gonna
this
be a
year.
while.
Yeah, we're not going to do Bran for a while, so. But yeah, up next is going to be Catelyn Chapter 2
Mhm.
and A Clash of Kings. And yeah, I think for the next couple weeks, everything, or the next couple episodes, everything should be normal. But there will be some temporary.
Define normal.
There will be some temporary changes in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Foreshadowing. You got to make sure you seed it very early. Much like Theon's seed, which tastes salty.
Dude! Unnecessary. Unnecessary.
And it comes full circle.
Yeah.
Alright, that's all I got, guys.
Jesus Christ.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Glass Candle Podcast. I'm sometimes on Twitter. Not really. Find our group, ASOIAF/GIT Discussions and Theories on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
For more sexy penis dick talk.
Jesus Christ.
We are mature. It is a serious group. That's all I got. Thanks for listening.
I'm
Like,
sorry. Thanks, guys. Bye.
See ya.